Today, alongside the tracks of farm machinery, a new set of circles were found. No human tracks lead to the markings.
There, carved in fields of wheat, barley, and rye, were elaborate geometric patterns. Even more curious was the fact that, much like the famed Nazca lines of Peru, the designs were only visible from the air.
This circle in a Wiltshire field is just one of 200 such markings to have been discovered in the last 6 weeks. To farmers and scientists, how they're formed or by whom remains a big mystery.
Not surprisingly, the region became the focus of intense interest from UFO enthusiasts and skeptics, each offering explanations as to who or what was responsible for this strange phenomenon. But if in fact alien beings from another planet were responsible for the crop circles, were they trying to contact us? Or were there clues embedded in the designs? And was the proximity to Stonehenge and other ancient sites of any particular significance?
Broadcasting live from the dark and cold dungeons deep beneath the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prepare yourselves to be taken away into another dimension, as we now have control over your thoughts, fears, and perspective of the unexplained world you dare not speak of. With your hosts, Lindsay Knight and Michael Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, we now open the gates to the paranormal and beyond.
Broadcasting live from the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Paranormal and Beyond. When it comes to crop circles, the first recorded phenomena was dated back to 1647, where a woodcut carving called the Mowing Devil depicts a devil and a farmer's field being investigated and mowed down by an entity that trampled his crops into a circle. To this day, this phenomena still appears in fields all over the world and remains to baffle even the smartest of minds. From the plain circular patterns to the mind-blowing geometric intricacy, there is absolutely no doubt that we are being shown a message from a super intellectual being. But the main question that remains in everybody's mind is who is actually trying to get our attention. In a moment, multi-award-winning crop circle and UFO documentary film producer Patty Greer will be joining us on the program to discuss her life's investigation into this phenomenon and perhaps decipher the cryptic messages within these elusive crop circle formations. Sit tight, because Patty Greer will be joining us when we return right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Your ticket to the unknown is at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings, mysterious places, and more can be found at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. Knights with a K, Paranormal Research Society.com. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Knights Paranormal Research Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond, where the paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com.
Just because you've seen it in the news doesn't mean it's real.
So you're telling me you got physically attacked by a ghost?
Like I can tell you right now, I believe in the paranormal more than I believe in our government.
There are so many mysteries out there that are still yet to be explained.
You folks have some of your facts wrong, and you just keep talking about generalities.
With all due respect, sir, you have not brought anything to the table to prove us wrong.
This is the Paranormal and Beyond, and it's your show. Call us at 731-1230. Here again, Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight.
Welcome back to another brand new edition of the Paranormal and Beyond. But first, be sure to check us out at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, where you can link up to all the past shows by simply clicking on that archive link above. That's Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. Ever want to be an actor? Well, you can by logging on to HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Once again, that's HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Special shout out to all those listening worldwide through the KLAV1230am.com website, and all those driving around the Vegas Valley listening to us through your stereos. I'm your host, Michael Knight. Alongside of me is your hostess, Lindsay Knight, your vigilantes, giving you the best of paranormal talk radio, one broadcast at a time. How are you doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing well, Michael. How are you?
I am great. We got a great show we got to get into, as we have
Patty Greer
on the show. But first, let's get into the news.
Topping the news for the Paranormal and Beyond this Wednesday, November 20th, bringing you up-to-the-minute news on all the strange and bizarre happenings around the globe. 79-year-old Marcel H. from Liège, Belgium, died back in November of 2012 of an asthma attack. His wife was so upset that she failed to report the death and continued to sleep with a decaying body until Belgium authorities made the bizarre finding on Tuesday, November 19th. They were led to the apartment because the landlord claimed the couple hadn't paid their rent since last year. Neighbors never reported a bad smell. The body had mummified. In Marcel's case, the body had rotted in the bed and his internal organs had melted and liquefied. Because of the ventilation, the body preserved well and mummified. In other news, sad news in the paranormal community. Renowned psychic Sylvia Browne dies at 77. A leader in the paranormal world who appeared regularly on television and radio and also wrote dozens of top-selling books. She died in a Northern California hospital surrounded by friends and family. She will be greatly missed. Reporting the news for the Paranormal and Beyond, I'm Lindsay Knight.
She will absolutely be missed. She goes back so far, and I wonder, because her investigating the afterlife, maybe she got all the answers now.
Well,
and what happens? Do you still investigate something else?
I don't know. I'm still reeling off this decaying corpse.
Yeah, talk about necrophilia times 10.
You know, the sad part is, real quick, there's pictures behind this. They actually took pictures of this mummified body, and the sheets had not been changed since. It's disturbing.
Like I said, we don't make this up. This is going on around the world outside your front door. All right, let's get into our main topic, because our special guest, multi-award-winning crop circle and UFO documentary filmmaker Patty Greer, had a life-changing out-of-body experience in the center of a UK crop circle in 2007, changing the perception of her reality forever. She has experienced more than 100 UK crop circles personally since 2006. Patty is considered a true crappie and is a firm believer in the phenomena, finding their message to be very timely and illuminating. She is one of the only filmmakers offering untouched photos of the orange balls of light witnessed in and around the UK crop circle phenomena over the years. Since that time, Patty has produced 4 full-length feature documentary films focusing on UFOs and crop circles. Her movies earned her 6 prestigious awards, such as 3 EBE awards for Best Feature Film, UFO or Related at the International UFO Congress Convention Film Festival in 2009, and in 2010 winning the EBE Award for Best Musical Score within a UFO program for her original music soundtrack. Patty has also won the coveted 2010 Moondance GAIA Award, to which is presented to the person who seeks to elucidate and improve the spirituality quality of life on the planet and contributes to the betterment of the world's spirit. Last but not least, Patty has also took home the Moondance Audience Favorite Film Award for both her films entitled Crop Circle Update: The Wake Up Call, and for her 2012 film We're Already in It. There's absolutely no doubt that Patty's films are some of the most illuminating UFO documentaries to date. As a lecturer, Patty has traveled all over the world spreading her wealth of knowledge in such places as the 2013 Transformation Conference and also at the 2013 Roswell UFO Conference, where she has been invited back again for 2014. To this day, Patty Greer is compiling yet another film which will take us into a new paradigm, and her upcoming presentation will be revealed at the 2014 International UFO Congress Convention, where Patty herself will offer a world premiere screening of her new movie. The Paranormal and Beyond would like to welcome to the program the one and only Patty Greer. How you doing, Patty?
Good. Nice to be here. Thank you. And hello, world.
Yes, yes,
Hello,
yes.
Patty.
Hi, Lindsay.
Oh, it's so nice to have you on the program. I've always been fascinated with crop circles. I mean, I have so many books in my shelves regarding crop circles. It's fascinating because, I mean, until it came out that some of them can be faked, I mean, I still don't believe that. I know they have been faked, some of them, but I mean, obviously, something else has been doing this.
Patty, take us. You're a musician at first, your passion, right?
Yes, it has been since I was 6.
And then you had this out-of-body experience on a crop circle. Tell us about that.
Well, I've had a series of interesting things happen to lead me to making movies, but I was always a musician since I was a child, and I played professionally from until I was probably 33 years. I played harp and piano and sang and wrote music. And the interesting thing is that all those years I wrote music, you're thinking you're writing your songs for in the moment, but coincidentally, here I am, 10 years after writing all the material, 15 on a lot of it, and it just fits like a glove into the soundtracks for these 5 movies that I've made so far, 6 coming up. And it's like kind of going into a library. Every time I make a movie, it's like, oh, good, there's all that stuff I've written, and it just happens to be the perfect song for the movies. So I'm finding that life is a puzzle that's kind of putting itself together now.
I watch your trailers, and yes, the movie, the songs itself, it's very relaxing and peaceful, especially looking at the crop circles. And it's just so intricate. Like Lindsay said, we've been doing shows on crop circles, and it's very fascinating because you have a lot of people out there who's trying to get the recognition and trying to solve how it was done. Like we live in this day and age where you have, when people don't understand something, they will go and bend over backwards just to find out how it's done and have the answer to this. But there are so many intricate designs that happens literally like overnight.
Patty, I was just researching the news, and I saw that in Brazil, 2 crop circles just actually popped up. Did you read about that?
Yeah, they were really recent. But what's interesting is that there's so many crop circles popping up. It's just a matter of the news is not telling us.
Oh.
And when you go into an audience of hundreds of people and you say, okay, nobody's looking, put your hand up if you've seen an ET, seen a ball of light, had an interaction with an extraterrestrial being. And if the audience is honest, at least a third to a half of them are going to raise their hand and say, yes, I've seen something. And 10 or 20% are going to go, oh my God, did I have an experience that shakes the room up?
Well, what's your experience? How did you even possibly get into this, being a musician?
My life turned really around when in 2001 I was dating a man that owned a recording studio, and this was my first interaction with the extraterrestrials that I'm clearly aware of. He was up at my mountain house where I had a lot of animals that I hand fed, and people that are going to get mad, but I hand fed deer and fox, and I just had a barrage of wonderful wildlife. And I went to sleep, and wake up in the morning, and my boyfriend is staring at me with the weirdest look I've ever seen. And he said, do you remember what you said in your sleep last night? I'm like, well, no, I just woke up. And he said that I woke him up by saying, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's not who you know, it's who you really are. Poor guy couldn't get back to sleep. So I said, well, wow, great lyrics. I just woke up. I'm going to go write that down. Good lyrics for a song. And he grabbed my wrist and he said, oh, no, that's not all that happened. You woke me up by saying it. And then I saw these headlights go in the backyard. They turned around, came toward the house, and I realized there's a mountain back there. There's no road for a car. And all of a sudden, the first light came through the wall of your bedroom, circled the ceiling. And my poor boyfriend said he was shaking me, and the headboard was hitting the wall. He was shaking me so hard, yelling, get up, what is this? And I wouldn't wake up. And then the second ball of light came through the wall, and he said it turned bright green like a glow stick, and it slowly circled the ceiling, went out the hallway through a different window out the living room, and the poor guy was petrified. He's trying to shake me, the girl that feeds the animals. He's thinking this is some other pet, like, giant fireflies, balls of light.
Exactly. Are you feeding fairies now?
He's paralyzed. He's scared to death, and he cannot wake me up to save his life.
So do you think, Patty, you were being prepped for your future's work?
Well, yes, absolutely. But I do believe that the first light was the warning. The second light, when they turn green, many times it's basically when they pick you up and off you go. So he watched this whole thing happen. I didn't get to see a thing. And when I woke up, he was in a panic. And needless to say, it was our last date.
Oh, terrible.
I don't blame
him. Pat, it's
right,
terrible.
Way to lose a guy, huh, Lindsay?
Yeah, I know, right? Very. I don't even know what to say to that.
Right. So 6 years go by, and I'm like, jealous. Why him? I'm the girl that does ritual, fields the wildlife. The guy could care less. He's got a recording studio. He's brilliant, but he's not into spiritual matters. So the poor guy, he really saw something amazing. And at the time, 2001, I had no idea what had happened. I just knew, why him, not me. So in 2004, something really changed. And I know that this particular 2001 event was the first time that I was taken to a place that we will discuss. So in 2004, I guess now I really look at it as divine perfection. I decided, because I was all organic and purified water, that I would get the mercury fillings out of my teeth, those silver fillings. Mm-hmm. And so my doctor said $10,000, and I'll go get a second opinion. So shortly out of Boulder, Colorado, where I'd been living for a long time, I found another dentist, and he agreed for $6,000 instead of 10 to take all the silver fillings out of my mouth and put in white porcelain and a gold crown. So I pass out, with this procedure. I wake up with a mouth full of new mercury fillings. Those silver fillings, I'm sorry, everybody, 55% mercury, 25% silver, and the other 25% is a mixture of other things that shouldn't be in a human mouth: copper, tin, and lead, depending on which lab makes them. Again, this is something that should not be allowed in anybody's mouth, but it's still legal because there's money behind it. So this dentist, unfortunately, or clearly it was supposed to have happened, totally poisoned me. And in the course of 6 or 8 months, I lost the use of my hands.
Oh, wow.
My career, my handshake, my touching things, my squeezing fruit at the grocery store, everything you can imagine. It took my fingertips that played harp. I had these fabulous 30-year calluses that all of a sudden were mercury poisoned open sores on my fingers. And it lasted 8 years.
That's horrible.
I've been healed from mercury poisoning 2 years physically, but really my hands only healed about 4 months ago. This was devastating.
How did you know that that stuff in your mouth was like lead? Did you have that analyzed, or it just started with the hands and then they decided to check?
No, it wasn't until the dentist put a bunch of mercury fillings in my mouth that were new that I had the reaction. The old ones were the same thing, but I spent the fortune to try and get all the mercury out of my system, and then he put a whole bunch of new stuff in, and that's what took my body out. I'm not angry today, but it certainly was bad for the bunch of years that 7 years my doctors gave me the wrong blood test, because in this country, they have to. They could lose their license if they tell you the truth about mercury poisoning. And I am saying this across the world on radio. Yeah, I lived through it, and my doctors that gave me the wrong test 7 years in a row are still giving the wrong test today, and I walked it into their office. I finally got the right test, and the lab president called me and said, the bad news is it's one of the worst cases we've ever seen because your doctors let it go so long. But the good news is we can cure it. You got to get the mercury fillings back out and then detox. It took me 2 years. So during the course of all this tremendous mercury poisoning in my system, I was so desperate to heal that I went over to England and started laying in crop circles. And that's what started this for me. How perfect is that?
You know, I wanted to ask you, it's funny you brought that up because I've heard and I've read that people who have actually stood on the crop circles has gotten some kind of a sensation or a feeling. Is that what?
Absolutely.
Is that what you got?
Well, once I started going to the crop circles, it was really a remarkable, like you're saying, physical sensation. When you are walking in the tractor tracks, which is the only crop circle etiquette that the farmers allow, you're walking in these tram lines, which are where the tractor tires go, and you want to just stay in it so you don't crunch the wheat. When I am 10 to 20 feet before I even get to the opening of the crop circle formation, the hair all of a sudden stands up on my little teeny hairs because I'm a girl, but goosebumps head to toe, tingles on the top of my head. I mean, it is an electric feeling that just runs through your body. You can feel it really, really electric, energized. And the gentleman that I took for the 2 years last time in 2010 and 2011, he said, I'm not going to pretend. And I said, no problem. So, you know, we're walking in the first crop circle for him to be in. And as I'm walking into the tram line, bang, you can just feel it when you get in that, I call it an umbrella of an enhanced electromagnetic field. It's just, boom, you can feel your whole body feels different. And as soon as the tingles started on my body and the goosebumps, I kind of turned around to look at my boyfriend, and his arm was up at a 45-degree angle and his mouth was just huge open, like, oh my God. And he's got, you know, hair standing up on his arm. He was stunned. So most people can feel it, and you're not even in the formation yet. You're in the umbrella, which is like the warning, the welcome.
Now, for the wheat grains, I know that they're at an angle. Now, I know there is a difference discerning when somebody else, like a human, does it, and they, you know, they go down there and they make those crop circles, or something intelligent, UFO perhaps is the one that came down there and do it. There is a difference because they're not broken, right?
It's actually in the nodes.
Right.
The expulsion cavities and all this. It's different. It's like, have you? Of course you have, but it's like an energy that went through there.
Absolutely. You know, there are two different kinds of researchers. There's people that actually study and research, and they look at other people's work and they examine scientific proof, and they bring their little machines and their dowsing rods and all these things. And then there's, I have to say, I don't fit into the mold. You know, I went over there because I was desperate to heal. I laid down in a crop circle. I was absolutely full of metal, and I was taken again. And these movies that I made have no research, nobody else's material. What happened was, you know, in 2001, I was taken the first time, but in 2007, when I was taken from a crop circle, now I know that both of the times I was taken to the same place because I finally had a regression and a full memory. But I don't want to jump too far ahead. I want to really stay with, you know, a lot of your audience hasn't studied the crop circles like you guys have. The reason that I go to England happens to be the epicenter of the crop circle phenomenon. And a lot of people say, well, why not in America? When we look at the high percentages of crop circles placement, most all of them around the world are sitting over an aquifer of water, like 96 or 7%. So they're all sitting over an aquifer of water. And after this many years, I feel very clear to say that I believe it's about lighting up the waters underground. You know, if when you set that sacred geometry into the field and you've got water below, boom, it sets it into the water, which then goes out into the veins, into the tributaries, the underground streams, and it does end up raising the vibration, I think, of the planet ultimately. Another very high percentage is that most all crop circles are not only sitting on a ley line, which is a line between two sacred sites, but many of them, when we map them out at the end of the summer with push pins on a ley line map full of sacred sites, almost all of the crop circles in England are sitting on a crossing of two ley lines. Now that's some high-powered energy.
I've studied
there.
the ley lines
so
too.
You've got water, you've got ley lines, and in this area of southern England, the epicenter called Wiltshire, England, Somerset, we have Stonehenge to one side, Glastonbury to the other, and the center is the Avebury Stone Circle, which is one of the oldest and largest stone circles in all of Europe that Druids have been walking across Europe to do sacred ceremony at for 7,000 years.
Is that where?
I mean, it's highly sacred land.
Is that where? Because I'm fascinated with like the whole Glastonbury and all of the ley lines because it's very fascinating. Is that where possibly Avalon sits?
They say so. Yes, they say so.
Now, is the ley lines man-made, or is that something that has? Or they just don't know?
Ley lines are an energetic. They're not visible.
Okay, it's just the pattern.
When you have Silbury Hill and you've got Stonehenge and you've got the Avebury Stone Circle, you can build a triangle if you take a line directly between them. And that's what the ley lines are. They do lines, energy lines directly between them. But it isn't a coincidence when 60 out of 70 crop circles at the end of summer on an average England summer are sitting on a node or sitting on a ley line. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And we need to describe a little bit more because you guys nailed it with the, how can you tell when you walk into a crop circle if it's human made instantly? You'll notice that where the weed is bent at a 95-degree angle, usually it's broken. If they're done by boards and ropes and sloppy people or clever people thinking they're so clever, you'll find broken weed. But when you go into a crop circle where the electromagnetic field is so extremely enhanced, you bend down and you start raking through the wheat with your fingers, you'll see where the bend is, you will find a bubble, which they call a node. And a lot of times they're burned because something hits all that wheat, hundreds of thousands of stalks of wheat at the same moment. And what's really stunning is when some go left and some go right, and when you fly over them, some of them are so outrageously meticulous that they even show shading from above. I mean, that's mastery.
I mean, there's no doubt that these patterns, some of them are just way out of our league. And just the cryptic messages in there. If you, all you guys out there listening, go to niceparanormalresearchsite.com and go down the archive link to the crop circle phenomena, which is Patty's page. She sent us pictures of crop circles that you have taken, and some are just remarkable of the intricacy. Not only that, they happen literally like overnight and just blows the plankers out the water because we're talking about the darkness and trespassing in people's fields doing this.
Is there residue that's left behind?
No.
Okay.
Not that I've seen. I mean, when the military flies over and they dump stuff, yes, but I haven't seen any ET residue. So let's get quickly into the real circle makers, because this is where my work, I think, really takes off from the other researchers that I've seen. And it's probably because I didn't research, I don't listen to other people, and I went there with no rules. And as I look back now, because I'm no longer mercury poisoned and completely fearless, I'm telling you, I did things there that I would never do again. One of them being flying in those little microlights with a movie camera. I get in the first plane, And the pilot looks at me. He knows I'm green, which means brand new at doing this. I'm holding this huge camera going, oh God, which end? You know, I'm just no idea. And he looks at me and says, door on or door off? I'm like, you're kidding. Well, the professionals like their door off. I'm like, oh crap. So no door on my side. And I'm looking around for my halter to really strap myself and my movie camera in. And I'm like, where's the halter? And he goes, oh, it's just a little belt. I mean, literally like a man's belt. I got this little thing on. I'm like, you're kidding. Are we only going 100 feet, 2,000, 3,000 feet up? No door, teeny seat belt. I wouldn't do it tomorrow. So we're in wind, we're in rain, and the plane is going, woo, 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 you know, and I've got this thing literally tied around my head. I've got my sweatshirt double tying the camera to me and leaning out while the pilot is sweeping around the crop circle in a big circle. And there were two different pilots. The one that was a much better pilot would say to me, do you want to do another loop? Or are we good with this formation? And I'd say, no, give me one more loop, because I'd do 2 full circles with a movie camera. And then I'd have to like somehow get that under my arm, pull out the little flash camera, and then do one more loop with the plane to get still shots. And he would always say to me, look at me. And I'd say, why? And he'd go, just trust me, look at me. And this great pilot, instead of flying way out of the way to come back and do another circle, would dip the plane. I mean, just took the wing right under the plane and really cut it sharp so that I could get in there quickly again. And the one time I didn't look at him, I looked over my shoulder. I mean, you know, there was nothing between me and the ground except air. So, you know, it really takes a lot of fearlessness to fly. Another thing that I found myself doing a lot, which I don't think I do tomorrow, is night watch. Now, I went over there alone 9 weeks in a row all summer. That's a lot of crop circles. That's how I've done more than 100 different crop circle visits. The ones that were really, really phenomenal were, I think, the ones where people had seen the orange balls of light. Now, the people, the humans that say, oh, I made that crop circle, you can go home and go back to sleep. Well, that's what most of the audience will hear about. And, you know, Doug and Dave made them all, so, you know, go back to sleep. But one of those guys has been dead 20 years. And frankly, when Doug and Dave, you know, when they were believing that these 2 old guys were making all the crop circles, on nights when there were 2 happening in England, there was 1 in France and 2 in Italy. So if Doug and Dave made all the crop circles, I got to say, they're ET anyway, because they're traveling with the speed of light, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So one night, I had been really, really a long day in the crop circles. It's 10:30. I'm starving. And the only place that I could go was the Black Horse Pub. And everything's in Wiltshire. I don't even leave the area. So I take myself to the pub, sit down at the table, and I just ordered some soup. And I don't drink, so I was just sitting there waiting for my soup. And all of a sudden, these 3 boisterous English chaps come in the bar. One of them kicked the door in, and they're hysterically laughing. And one of them is soaked wet, head to toe, and they're just hysterically laughing. So they go belly up to the bar, and they each ordered 2 beers, 1 for each hand. So I knew it was going to be boisterous. And of course, they sat right behind me. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be so obnoxious. I'll just do my soup and get out of here. What a gift. It happened to be 3 gents that were making a crop circle.
Oh, wow.
So for your audience that wants to know what the human circle makers are like, here you go. These 3 drunk guys, well, they're not drunk yet. They start their first beer, and they're really laughing at their buddy, because what they said was, can you believe what just happened, mate? They said that as they were making this crop circle with their boards and ropes, that all of a sudden, a ball of light whizzed between them, and one of the guys screamed and wet his pants, and all 3 of them went running to the car, and that's why he was wet.
Oh, wow.
So he didn't make the crop. They didn't make the crop circles.
Those humans were out there thinking that they were fooling the world by making a crop circle, and a real circle maker, a ball of light, thought it would be a good night to show them who's boss. This really happened. I mean, I'm sitting here at a pub listening to these guys talking about the fact that they were out there making a circle and a ball of light whizzed past them.
Now, getting to these balls of light, there are a lot of people who interpret how a crop circle is being made. One is that a spaceship landed and it was an imprint of the radiation or whatever makes them, levitate. But yet, I move to the theory about these balls of light. Have you seen a YouTube video where they catch these balls of light going over a wheat field and forming a crop circle within seconds? Have you seen that?
Yes, that's called the Oliver's Castle footage. It is the only footage in the world where a guy hit play while the circle makers were laying a field down in mere seconds. Now, half the world thinks, and that's called Oliver's Castle 1996. People can search it, or you can go to any of my movie trailers because, of course, I feature it. It is the only footage in the world, and I'm the person that has, I think, proven that it is real, and I'll tell you how. I come home after my first summer in 2007, after I had that experience where I had been taken again, and I'm sure of it. I opened my eyes up because I was laying in a crop circle when I came back, and I could see things that I had never seen before in my life, which was plasma. And I could see things moving in the sky, little glints, circles, squiggles. I mean, it was like I had a whole different vision when I was brought back, and I can still see them today. I started taking an insurmountable number of photos, and I came home with 1,100 photos that I'd taken in these little planes and crawling through the crop circles. But I had also, at the end of the summer, 9 weeks, I knew so many of the researchers from around the world, and we had so much fun that I asked the film crew at the Glastonbury Crop Circle Symposium if I could hire them to come and film me and my friends for a day. Little did I know I was starting to make movies. So they said, sure, gave me a nice price. So they came to Wiltshire and filmed for 12 hours with me. I come home with this footage and these photos, and I lay out a movie with some guy I hired on Craigslist, wonderful editor, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but the movie lays out to exactly 77 minutes, my favorite number. And I get to the end, and I had permission to use the original Oliver's Castle footage where you can see the balls of light lay the field down in a second. So I'm really excited. I put it in the end of the movie, throw my arms up, and I said, done, we did it, this is finished. And then all of a sudden I said, oh my God, the hair is standing up on my arms. Now I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I'm not in England in the crop circles. And all of a sudden, they were in the house. I was sure of it because it was like tingles, top of my head all the way down to my feet. I've got chills. The hair is standing up. The electromagnetic field in my home in the woods is totally shifted. And the editor looks at me and he goes, you look weird. And I said, reverse the footage. He said, why? I said, reverse the footage. He reversed it. I said, slow it down. He said, how slow? I said, I don't know, 30%. I mean, literally like that. And so he slowed it down 30%, lock. And there it was right in front of us. Now, this wasn't because I did math or studied or researched anything. The chills, the hair standing up, the enhanced electromagnetic field, whoever they are, they came into my home, they slowed the footage down, reversed it, and bang, I found a communication between those two balls of light directly between the balls of light. It's some kind of a code, and I keep giving it to people to try and get it read. I haven't deciphered it yet, but I'm sure of it.
So you're saying that these crop circles that are being formed are codes? Possibly.
Are what? Are codes. No, what I'm saying is the code that I'm talking about is on an image.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what it is was on that original footage, those two balls of light, right before they laid the field down, they communicated.
Oh.
And that's what I found visibly. And so I was so excited that I ended my movie by saying, oh my God, I proved the Oliver's Castle footage is real. And because I'm so green, I didn't know that that I had really done it. And, you know, still today, I don't have any doubt because of the fact of how it happened. So I did want to finish the story though, because there's one more piece about those human circle makers, and then I want to really elaborate on the ETs.
Oh,
The
please.
human circle makers not only had the ball of light whiz between them, but when these three guys, the one guy that was wet, got to their second beer, they were really starting to kind of loosen up and realize they were all in shock, because that's a pretty scary thing to happen when you think you're God and all of a sudden you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one guy says, you know, man, I almost felt like I saw somebody with a hood, like a hat and a long coat on. And then the second guy goes, you're kidding. I thought I saw him too. Like there were a couple of like shadow beings. He said, I thought I was imagining it. And then the third gentleman concurred, and all three of them just, you could hear the that they had not only seen a ball of light, but all three of them had seen what they thought were humans over there in the field while they were, you know, making their crop circle. So these extraterrestrials, you know, they'll humor us. They'll be patient with our, you know, blatant recklessness. But, you know, why pretend that UFOs aren't real? You know, they're kind of laughing at us, but I think they're starting to get tired. You know, these crop circles have been coming to the earth since the 1700s. And in the olden days, they used to call them the fairy rings, but they've been seen forever. And, you know, even though the press has slipped it under the rug, crop circles keep coming every summer, over and over. This last summer, 2013, we had 70 of them documented around the world. And that was a small summer. I mean, the year before in 2012, there were 69 in England alone.
But what's the purpose of these crop circles?
I believe that they are the first extraterrestrial communication for humanity to see. And they're giving it to us in languages that we can understand. Math, art. You know, when you have the most blatant ones are the binary codes.
Right.
And we've had amazing ones because a binary code, you know, you can look at it and say, wow, isn't that interesting? But they can actually be deciphered and turned into words. So let's talk about, I think the most amazing one was the alien face and the disc.
That is my absolute favorite. It is like,
really?
oh my God.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, and 2 years in a row, 2001 and 2002, there were two double formations, and they were only 8 miles apart, and both of them were profound. One was the Arecibo message, and one was the alien face in the disc. Both of those crop circles were set in a field of telecommunication towers. Not just a farm field, but a farm field where they had the opportunity to get the word out to the world. You know, telecommunication transmitter towers with satellite dishes left and right so that they could bring in the message and get it out to the world. I mean, that's pretty brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's telling you a message right there.
Exactly. So interestingly enough, the first message, the alien face in the disc, no, that was the second one. The alien face in the disc, though, being your favorite, I can't agree more. I mean, what a profound piece, Lindsay. So they deciphered it as an ASCII code. And an ASCII code, you know, the binary, the ASCII, it's zeros and ones, and then they bring it into letters.
Exactly.
And they deciphered the message as this.
It's the
and
universal
keep in mind,
language.
It was right near 9/11. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing.
That's very deep.
You being I'm going to say, I don't know, or do you want to call yourself an abductee?
No, I call myself a contactee.
Okay, a contactee. Was there any messages that you have taken from all of this?
Yeah, I think my favorite one, and I sent you a photo last night, Michael, was the Crystal Castle crop circle. This for me was like the answer to many questions. Last summer, I did not go to England. It was one of the first summers I didn't. And because I have 5 movies and they're really important information, and they're just, I mean, they're talking about the circle makers, not the pretty pictures. So I had to take the summer to really figure out how to get them out to the world. I'm still looking for distributors that are appropriate, but I really want to get the movies out to a lot more people because that's how we spread the information. So I stayed in America and I didn't go, but every day I would get an email, what happened in England, Italy, Ireland, you know, wherever there's a crop circle, you know, those of us that join as members of cropcircleconnector.com, we will get an email in the morning if there was a crop circle in the world. So I had a friend come up for the weekend, and she was in the guest room, and she said, "Oh, I've got to show you this amazing artwork by an artist named Ariel Ali." And so she opens up her computer to this beautiful picture of the Atheris city. And then the next one was the Arcturus city. And all of a sudden I started like tears and shaking and chills and goosebumps. And I was like, oh God, here I go again. I feel like they're in the house. I mean, it's such an intense, divine feeling. And I knew that I was having another like a transmission. So I'm looking at this picture and it is absolutely familiar. And it is a crystal castle, and it's 5 towers with little stars on top, and the colors are out of this world, literally. They're ultraviolet, ultra blue, nothing like I've seen on this planet. And I'm absolutely sure that I've seen this place before. So I've got to call the artist in the morning and see who it is, where this place is, and what it is, because I know I've been there, but I'm still not figuring it out. So I'm totally taken by it. And my friend is going, wow, it's really cool. So I wake up in the morning, come down, make my coffee, open up the computer, and the Crop Circle Connector sends me an email. Now, this was 10:30 in Colorado, which is 5:30 in the morning in England, while I was realizing that this crystal castle was underwater. There were pyramids on the way to it, and I realized, oh my God, this is absolutely where I was taken. I had a full memory that this is the absolute place where they took me both times. Where is this place? So I wake up in the morning, and guess what happened in England in that hour or the same? While I realized where they had taken me, they laid down a crystal castle crop circle in England. And when I saw it on my computer, I just about screamed. When my friend came down, I was still sitting there in shock, just pointing to my computer. And she said, oh my God, it's the Crystal Castle. And I went, yep. And I went through all the crop circles of 2012, and it was the only crop circle that was an exception that did not have a circle on it.
Yeah, I'm looking at
circle.
this. I'm looking at this right now, and you mentioned it was underwater, and it's amazing how they included the water drops.
The water droplets.
It's an amazing crop circle.
I'm telling you, these ETs, when they work with people, they work closely. For me, that's proof positive. I mean, I can't say this to anybody else who's going to believe it, but when I woke up and saw the Crystal Castle with the drops below that you're looking at, I was done. I was just like, oh my God, this is contact. But it's the only crop circle without a circle. And the very next day, they did a big circle on top of the Crystal Castle with a goddess inside it. Now, what are you going to say?
So is that Crystal Castle supposedly underwater here on Earth?
I couldn't tell you that.
You know, it's funny because we just did a story
with Preston Denon about underwater
UFOs,
bases and stuff like that. So you never know, you know. You know, Patty, one of the most impressive crop circle that I've seen was the double helix of the DNA that had codes in there that baffled medical science. Like they were trying to tell us something, and you know, a lot of this stuff gets scoffed at and washed away, but just the messages alone, it just baffles the mind.
Yes, it does. Well, there's so many that really relate to each and every person. And when you put a crop circle down in front of five people, you might have five different interpretations, five different correct interpretations, because everybody sees what they need to see. A lot of the crop circles, they're a binary code that you can read down to a science. Then there's pictograms where you look at it and you say, oh, that's a sparrow, or oh, that's an Indian headdress outrageous before 2012. You can look at it and say that is something. But a pattern style that many crop circles that are round with a pattern inside are called sacred geometric patterns. And what that is there's a center core, a center dot, and most everything is symmetric coming out from it. And the thing about sacred geometry is that the brain doesn't have to work real hard to get it. You look at it and it's like looking at a flower. You just go, ah. And I think that the circle makers are giving us a lot of subliminal information through the sacred geometry, because those are the ones where you look and everybody sees what they need to see. And depending on your level of vibration, your energy field, your frequency, your level of spiritual practice, you'll see something different than the person next to you. Somehow we all see exactly what we need.
Yeah,
and I want to mention my website is pattygreer.com. I have trailers, and in the first 5 minutes watching a trailer, you will see so many crop circles in your face, and you'll get such a feeling. It's really lovely. But on the other hand, right before we had the BP oil spill in 2009, we had the most bizarre summer, which to me is very, very blatant. We had, for the first time in history, I think, pictograms. We had 1, 2, 3, like 5, 6, 7 fish formations. We had the squid, the octopus. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, they were so fabulous. Dolphins swimming. There was a trio of trout. There were all kinds of fish, and then there was the orthoceras, the ancient sea creature, and then there was the dragonfly with meticulous veins in the wings. Wasn't that remarkable?
I remember that one.
It's just mind-blowing, and I mean, the work you've done with these films are so informative, and your music as well. It's like, and you're a harpist, is that how you call it? So it's magical.
Well, yeah, but with this particular story of the birds and the fish, then came the birds. We had the phoenix, the owl, the sparrows, the thunderbird, the hummingbird that looked just like the Nazca line hummingbird. So we're going, by the end of the summer, whoa, what an odd summer. Here it is, 2009, and we're getting all these birds and fish and dragonfly and ancient sea creatures. And then bang, 8 months later, the BP oil spill murdered millions of birds.
Absolutely.
And fish.
See, that's the whole thing.
I think it was a warning. I think they were giving us messages. And, it's perception. It's like, in 1977, I don't know how many people remember in England, the television news was all of a sudden taken over by an extraterrestrial voice.
Patty, we are running out of time. This is a fascinating conversation. One more time, where can people see and get your videos as well as your website?
PattyGreer.com, PattyGreer.com.
It's been a pleasure having you on the program. Remember, join us back here Friday as we have the world's most predicted psychic and documented. Anthony Carr will be joining us to give us our 2014 predictions. Thank you once again, Patty. And everybody out there, enjoy your Thursday and see you right back here Friday. Everybody, good night. Intellectual being But the main question that remains in everybody's mind is who is actually trying to get our attention. In a moment, multi-award-winning crop circle and UFO documentary film producer Patty Greer will be joining us on the program to discuss her life's investigation into this phenomenon and perhaps decipher the cryptic messages within these elusive crop circle formations. Sit tight because Patty Greer will be joining us when we return right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Your ticket to the unknown is at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings, mysterious places and more can be found at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com. Knights with a K, ParanormalResearchSociety.com. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Knights Paranormal Research.
Or by whom remains a big mystery.
Not surprisingly, the region became the focus of intense interest from UFO enthusiasts and skeptics, each offering explanations as to who or what was responsible for this strange phenomenon. But if in fact, alien beings from another planet were responsible for the crop circles, were they trying to contact us? Or were there clues embedded in the designs? And was the proximity to Stonehenge and other ancient sites of any particular significance?
Broadcasting live from the dark and cold dungeons deep beneath the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prepare yourselves to be taken away into another dimension as we now have control over your thoughts, fears, and perspective of the unexplained world you dare not speak of. With your host, Lindsay.
Today, alongside the tracks of farm machinery, a new set of circles were found. No human tracks lead to the markings.
There, carved in fields of wheat, barley, and rye, were elaborate geometric patterns. Even more curious was the fact that much like the famed Nazca lines of Peru, the designs were only visible from the air.
This circle in a Wiltshire field is just one of 200 such markings to have been discovered in the last 6 weeks. To farmers and scientists, how they're formed.
Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond, where the paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by Knights Paranormal Research Society.com.
Just because you've seen it in the news doesn't mean it's real.
So you're telling me you got physically attacked by a ghost?
Like I can tell you right now, I believe...
Knight and Michael Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, we now open the gates to the paranormal and beyond.
Broadcasting live from the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Paranormal and Beyond. When it comes to crop circles, the first recorded phenomenon was dated back to 1647, where a woodcut carving called the Mowing Devil depicts a devil and a farmer's field being investigated and mowed down by an entity that trampled his crops into a circle. To this day, this phenomenon still appears in fields all over the world and remains to baffle even the smartest of minds. From the plain circular patterns to the mind-blowing geometric intricacy, there is absolutely no doubt that we are being shown a message from a super intellect.